All right, guys. Once again, we are on the Value Podcast, where valuable people attract people of value. I'm Jamel Jackson, your relationship mechanic. I focus on preparing, evaluating, and giving you the tools you need to maintain healthy relationships. Today, I have my guy, Aaron, Mr. Let Him Go. If you watched his Instagram and seen any, Mr. Let Go. I'm sorry, we just flowing. If you've seen his Instagram, it's crazy. It's insane. And I said, man, I gotta have this guy on here, man, because I know when we get together, it's gonna mesh, and we're gonna give you guys some great things to talk about. So I'm gonna let you introduce yourself, even though I gave that small little introduction, man. What you got going on, man?
All right, I am Mr. Let Go, Instagram, Mr._Let Go. I teach mainly women, but I teach men and women how to let go of their emotional triggers and their childhood trauma. In most cases, your relationships are falling apart, not because of the other person. A lot of the times, that person is triggering something inside of you that wasn't there when you were single. You know how somebody might be living their best life, they happy, they single, everything is good, and the second they get into a relationship, everything falls apart in some type of way in that person, because that particular person becomes triggered. So the emotional triggers that we all have embedded in us come out when we get into a relationship. Next thing you know, we break up with a person because of abandonment issues, because of jealousy. You know, you're not jealous when you're single. You don't have abandonment issues when you're single, right? There's so many different things that you don't really have going on in your life or in your space when you're single. You just out here living your life. But the second you get into a relationship, that's when all of that childhood trauma comes back. And if you don't find out what the childhood trauma is and how to deal with it, this is going to continue to happen until you're like 75 years old.
Wow. So, like, why do you have the name Let It Go?
Well,
what's the backdrop?
I used to be Aaron_Mallory, right? And it was people coming to me like, yo, you're a relationship expert. And I'm thinking like, well, actually, no, because to me, it's not about the relationship with other people. It's about the relationship with yourself. So I'm like, you know what? To be honest with you, because I actually used to say this on my own podcast, I used to have a mantra that said, I am Mr. Let Go. I'm not here to help you with your relationship problems. I don't really care if you find anybody or not. My biggest thing is that you find yourself. And until you find yourself, your relationships are going to continue to fail. So it's about letting go of the childhood trauma. It's about letting go of your emotional triggers. It's about letting go of the things that are in your hands. Because you only have two hands, right? Before you start trying to pick something else up. You ever went grocery shopping, and as a man, I'm sure you've done it because I do this all the time. You don't want to walk around no shopping cart. You just want boom, boom, boom. You want to get a couple things and leave, right? Have you ever been in a grocery store and you done picked up too many things and you're in the back of the grocery store and you're like, damn, I need a car. And you got all this stuff. And then you're like, damn, now I need deodorant. I've done this at least about 10 different times, and now I'm walking around the grocery store like this, and now I'm trying to get deodorant, and I'm like, and I'm walking up to the thing. Next thing you know, everything falls out my hand.
Yeah, we
actually operate like this as people, just in our everyday lives. We don't want to let nothing go.
I like.
And then we get into a new relationship, and we got all this stuff, and then now we try to add another person. And the person actually becomes in the way of the rest of the stuff.
I'm glad. You know what? I'm glad you gave that analogy, and I've actually been in that predicament. Now I'm grabbing a grocery cart or the little basket. Even if I know I'm set out to get one thing, I'm grabbing the basket because in case I get another thing, because I'm not carrying all that stuff and fumbling up to the register. That's a perfect picture for what we're talking about in terms of this word commitment.
Yeah.
And how people handle commitment and how we deal with commitment. Because what you just painted was a picture of chaos.
Yes.
And a lot of times people are in relationships, even though it's chaotic, men and women, and we're committed to the chaos.
And they don't want to let go of the chaos they're committed to, because the chaos actually makes them feel in some type of roundabout way comfortable. See, if you're used to growing up, like I talk about childhood stuff all the time, right? If you're used to growing up around arguments, chaos, people fussing or whatever, people fighting on Thanksgiving Day, somebody's always arguing, there's always, all this stuff going on, right? As a woman or a man, you can get with the opposite sex and then turn around and start seeing their lives, and it's so serene, there's no problems, there are no issues. First thing you're gonna be like, what's up with her? Oh, what's up with him? Like, and then you might actually start looking at that person like, yo, you think you better than me, don't you? Just because you got all these problems don't mean you this and that. And next thing you know, the person is just like, yo, it actually happened to me.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have a big family, right? So it's not that my family is awesome. I just don't have I have a big family, but I'm not close to them.
Yeah.
So it's always been me and my mom. So I would get with a woman. This happened, a couple times. And my kids are good. Me and my ex-wife, we're good. There's no issues. My kids are grown. So it's I gotta go pick my kids up. My kids got their own cars and jobs and stuff, right? So my life, to a certain degree, is very serene. So I get with a woman who has a 13-year-old and a 7-year-old, right? And baby daddy problems, family problems, aunt, mom, all these different things, right? And there's a lot of chaos, right? And then we start dating, and then I start looking at her like, yo, is there a reason why your cousin keep calling you? Or, like about stuff, we trying to do this, and, oh, wait, I gotta go help my mom to do this, wait. And I'm like, yo, why you have so many family problems? Next thing you know, she's gonna compare her situation to mine. Like, oh, you know what? See, that's your problem. You need to get with a white girl or something. I've had a woman say that. I'm like, why? Because your family is so like the whatevers, the Huxtables or whatever. You need to get you a white girl. And it was an insult to me. And I'm like, because my life isn't as chaotic as yours, I need to get with a whole white girl? And when you look at stuff like that, you're like, yo, it's not me, it's you, but you're so comfortable with the chaos, you think I should have chaos also.
So, people being committed to chaos, we know a lot of it stems from their upbringing. Do you believe that men struggle with being committed long term more than women?
100%.
Why do you believe so?
Well, for a lot of reasons, but
because let me say this, because I know me, and I know we were talking about this offline, that I know me, like, to be transparent, when I was growing up, I didn't see a lot of committed men in my environment. Right. Growing up in New York on the block, of course, my dad was in and out of prison. Right. No knock on my dad. I love him. He's out. He's home now. We've got the best relationship, but this is the true story. You know what I mean? Right. So I didn't see too much commitment coming from the men. So therefore, my commitment level towards practically anything, this is interesting. My commitment level towards things that I knew would change my life was low. But my commitment level to the chaos was high. Because that's what I saw. My comfort was in seeing people committed to chaos, committed to doing crimes, committed to selling drugs, committed to using drugs, committed to just all the negligent things. No devotion to things that are going to impact and change our lives. So it was like, go to school, study, get good grades. I'm not committed to that. Right. I'm committed to cutting glass and going to the block and pitching this pack. Yep. And so what happened was that commitment. This is interesting because I had my first, I didn't have like girlfriends in high school. Okay. You know what I mean? It wasn't that I didn't like girls, but it's crazy. My methodology was I was more committed to the block. So there were young girls that wanted to, have me as their man and all that, but it was like, nah, I'm cool, like, and it was short lived.
Back in the day, I would get with one girl. That was called MOB, money over bees.
Yeah.
And we was just like, forget these women, I gotta get this money.
And I would be with a girl, and she would want to be committed. I could tell. Right. But in me, I was like, nah, man, like or it would be short lived. I'll be with you for like a good week, but I was just so committed to the streets and so committed to the block that I was like, I don't want to ruin your life. I don't want you getting involved with me. And so as as the years progressed and I became a young adult, and I was still in that mode, just committed to the block. And the first woman that I became like you know what, let me be committed was my son's mom. And then you fast forward, I got married, but I'm seeing that picture depicted of the upbringing that we're talking about, being committed to the chaos, and I can see why some men, and I say some men, struggle with commitment. And we might not all have the same background.
Well, let me say something. Do you know that was a good thing, not a bad thing?
Oh no, it works out good for me because you know why?
Being committed to the block is actually a good thing versus being committed to a girl that's trying to be committed to you. See, being committed to the block isn't necessarily about what you're doing on the block. Is you're out here trying to find your purpose. As men, it's important for us to get out here and discover who we are. Be out, go get in trouble, do dumb stuff, go make mistakes, go out here and learn and hit our heads on stuff in order to get a better understanding of what we actually want, right? So even though the block is a negative connotation, but is a lot better than being 17 in a relationship, because y'all gonna have some babies, y'all ain't gonna like each other, y'all gonna have, now you're gonna be in some type of way resentful of her, or she's gonna be resentful of you because y'all were so young, and the whole thing's gonna fall apart because you don't know what you want and she don't know what she want. Y'all just together because y'all kids. But because you was committed to the block, it kept you away from the girls, right? So even though the block is bad, you actually utilize it in a way to help find your purpose, because now it's a part of your past and what makes you who you are, right? It's your story.
You know what's interesting is that my commitment level to that chaos and to those situations was because commitment deals with devotion and allegiance. So even the guys that I was around, my quorum, I had an allegiance. What it taught me was oath. So when I did get into a relationship, I always wanted long term because I was committed. With a person like me, especially in relationships, a woman doesn't have to pump and prime me like, "Are you all in? Are you in?" No, I learned how to be all in. Although it was a negative way, I learned how to be all in. I learned how to be committed to something. If I'm in it, then if I say I'm in it, then I'm riding. So when it came to a relationship with a woman, it was like, if I said I do, then I do.
So the block built your character.
It had a shape. It had a positive and a negative shape. But I utilized the positivity out of it and brought it into relationships, not even just with women, but even also with men that I do business with. And whatever we have, any type of venture, it's like when I say I'm committed, then I'm committed. That's that vow and that's oath. So this commitment word, right? Now I want to get into why men should be more committed. Because you said something. You were saying that they shouldn't be committed.
I don't think they should be committed because, let me give you a scenario, and I want to go back to my point because it just hit me. When I was younger, I used to look at the werewolf movies, right? All these like monster movies and stuff, right? And in a couple movies, it's always a girlfriend somewhere, right? Somebody always had a girlfriend in almost every movie, right? So it'd be a guy, I think it was American Werewolf in London. It was a guy and he had a girlfriend, right? And he knew that during a full moon, he turned to a werewolf, right? And he realized what he was doing. So I don't know how, but there was, because who has like a cage in their basement? But he built the cage in his basement. So when there's a full moon, he'll run down in the basement and lock himself in the cage.
I seen that.
Right? So he was committed to not hurting anybody, right? But here go this goofball girlfriend who's just like, no. And he's just like, of course he can't tell her because she's going to freak out, right? So he's just like, oh crap, it's a full moon. Hey, I need you to go. Why? I need you to go. And she's like, no, what's wrong? No. I need you to go, right? See, she's committed to him, but she's not listening to what he needs. In other words, she's not really committed to him. She's committed to what she views as a fairy tale relationship. He's like, yo, I'm not good for you. Go. So he runs downstairs and try to lock himself in the thing, and he hasn't turned yet. And she's just like, what are you doing? And he turns around like, go. And she's like, right? And it reminds me, just like when you said you was on the block, it was good that you weren't committed because you were somewhat of a monster back then.
Mm-hmm.
Like you weren't good for her. You were, you trying to do all this stuff. You probably could have went to jail or whatever, and she would have been sitting here dealing with you being in jail or dealing with you getting hurt. And then sometimes something like that can actually take your focus away from whatever it is that you're trying to learn on the block, right? Mm-hmm. So the reason why I say I don't think men should be committed, there's a side of this, but the reason why is because I don't think a man is really able to commit to a woman fully until he's found his purpose.
Right.
And part of you finding your purpose, part of it, was you building who you are, your foundation, on the block. And you ran from women, just like a dude in the movie ran from his girl, and her goofy butt kept chasing him. Mm-hmm. And sometimes women chase us because they want commitment so bad, and the dude is like, no. But all she knows in her mind as a girl, I want to get married, I want a baby, I want to be committed, I want to be in a committed relationship, and that's all they know. So sometimes people shouldn't be committed because they don't know why. There has to be a why. You can't just say, I want to settle down. That's not really a good reason to be committed because you're going to end up like staying in a bad relationship simply because you want to be committed. You don't care what is going on in a relationship. You just know that the foundation of your life is to be in a committed relationship, even though it sucks.
So we looking at two sides of the spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
So in both parties.
Both.
So you got the woman, you got the man.
Mm-hmm.
This woman needs first, like that. I like that when you said knowing who you are.
Right.
When you know who you are and whose you are, then we can start to walk in purpose and date on purpose and have these long-term relationships with purpose.
Right.
Instead of just freestyling and getting together just based off of a word called commitment.
Yeah. Just because we're male and female, we're supposed to be together.
Now, and I agree with you, and I believe that what we need to do is have men, and I want to address men,
okay,
that are committed to themselves and committed to knowing, you know what, in this particular area of being with a woman long term or whatever the length of time is, I'm not okay.
Right.
I struggle in that area.
Right.
When it comes to women, I'm just running through women because that's what I saw coming up.
Right.
You know, I was around the pimps, I was around the hustlers, or I was around these particular type of guys, and I didn't see commitment.
Right.
So therefore, mine was, I'm not gonna deal with you. For another man, it would have been like, yo, I'm gonna run them like all the OGs on the street.
Right. Right.
I believe if you're in that position, you should seek wise counsel.
I agree.
So we can have more committed men that are committed to bringing peace, love, joy, honesty, longevity in the relationship. Women as well, but I'm specifically addressing the men.
Right.
Because then I believe we have more peaceful communities.
Yeah, but we have to have it in order to give it. We have to have it in order to share it. So if you don't have structure in your life, you can't give structure or offer structure or share structure. If you don't have money, you can't give money, right? It's so many different things that as a man, since we're leaders, we have to go out in the world and obtain first. We have to have consistency. You can't be inconsistent and you get with a woman and she's consistent, think you're going to feed off of her. No, you're the leader. If you're inconsistent, you're going to make her inconsistent versus her making you consistent.
Come on.
So you have to have it in you. And the way you learn consistency is by finding your purpose and being consistent at it. Like what I've been doing, I've been doing this for years. What you've been, you doing your thing. So we are men who are consistent at something else. So we have learned how to be consistent, period. Now we can actually be in a relationship or a marriage and stay in it without starting to flounder or whatever.
Yeah.
Because we're already used to being consistent and committing to something else other than a woman. Because you are what you do.
Yeah, and those two words actually go together. I'm glad you brought that word up, that consistent and committed.
Yeah.
Consistency and commitment.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for somebody watching this or somebody listening to us, a guy, or even if it's a woman, but specifically a man listening to this, it could be baby steps.
Yeah.
It's just the small things. It might not be, you know what? I got some counseling and now I found me a woman. I'm committed to long-term love. It may be something small, like, you know what? I'm committed to making my bed Monday through Friday.
Committed to going to the gym
and
every Thursday.
Every
2
Thursday.
times a week.
I'm going to the gym consistently every Thursday. I'm committed.
Mm-hmm.
You will be surprised that commitment starts to trickle over in other areas of your life.
Yeah, you are what you repeatedly do.
And then when you meet a woman and you say, man, you know what, this woman kind of matches my core values and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you bring that commitment that you've been having in all the other areas of your life to the relationship,
right?
Then we got something we work with right there. But then also it has to be both parties as well.
Right.
But
she has to be committed to something in her own life also.
Yeah, but I want to really address the men, because I have conversations with a lot of men, and the word commitment, even when it's brought up, it's like, ugh. It's like a nasty word, like, nah, man, like, I'm cool. And this is people these may be men that are not in relationships, or men that are in relationships, men that are married, and they're like, no, I'm good, man. I ain't trying to be committed to just one person. Matter of fact, let's touch on that, babe.
Okay.
Everybody's viewpoint is different, but I want to specifically talk about men being committed to one person,
right,
to one woman, especially if that woman is upholding her end of the bargain and the agreement,
right,
and the conversation you guys had about long term, and she's treating you right, and she's a great woman. You know what I mean? Not a flawless woman, but a great woman. And then this man comes, and maybe he came dressed as the knight in shining armor, but was the werewolf.
And if you have chaos, if you have confusion, if you have emotional issues, she's going to multiply your chaos. She's going to multiply your confusion, and she's going to multiply your emotional issues. And
now that leads to the man looking at the woman like, man, what's wrong with you?
What's wrong with you?
It's
but
not
she just multiplied what you gave her.
Yeah, the incubators. You giving this to me, I gave birth to the chaos that you gave me.
Yeah.
I gave birth to the inconsistency that you're giving.
See, your chaos, you're okay with, but she's going to multiply the chaos. She's going to multiply the confusion.
Now the thing and this is why I say,
and not saying that women are bad, but women multiply whatever you give her is what I'm saying.
This is why I really want to stress men, young men, older men, being committed, like we said, to themselves. And then when you're getting into this relationship with this woman, because it's not just the woman that you're getting in a relationship with. There's generations and legacy connected to that. So
and her family members.
And family members. So if you get with this woman, and let's say you realize that you're not going to be committed, I say just leave her alone. Because then if, let's say you engage with that, and now you have a seed. Now it's in the seed. And now we have a domino effect of inconsistency and nobody that wants to be committed.
Well, this is the way I see it. If you haven't found your purpose, right, you're lost. Just period, right, as a man. There's nothing wrong with being lost and not knowing your purpose, but you're lost. And you get with a woman, and let's say she's lost, right? Having somebody lost with you feels good. So next thing you know, just imagine Scooby-Doo, and it was just Scooby-Doo. No Shaggy, no Daphne. It wouldn't even be a good show, because he's just by himself, right? He's just a dog walking around trying to solve crimes. That ain't, what made the show was people in this toxic environment with him, right? So now it's more enjoyable. So people, sadly, enjoy being lost with other people versus being lost by themselves. Like, if you just think about the typical drug addict. What does a drug addict need along with their drug? What do you think?
What a drug addict needs along with his drug?
somebody to do drugs with.
Oh yeah, they always need a partner. It makes it better when you're getting high with somebody else.
That's what I'm saying. It's the same thing. So it's not necessarily just easy to just say that a man needs to just leave her alone. That's the answer, yes. But is it going to happen? No, because if a man is lost and she's lost, he has somebody to relate with. Mm-hmm. It's like this. I hate these words, trauma bond or whatever, because it's like an excuse for somebody to stay in a relationship. Why are you in a relationship? Why you see? Oh, because it's a trauma bond. Well, why don't you leave out? Well, it's a trauma bond. What am I supposed to do? So it's an excuse, but it's a trauma bond to a certain degree because your girlfriend has the same amount of trauma or lack of understanding of where they're going as you do. So now y'all can talk about dumb stuff instead of just dealing with the dumb stuff by yourself. And he stays with her and she stays with him, and they're both stupid, dumb, and lost.
A lot of psychological surgery needs to be done.
Yes.
In our community, specifically, I want to address the black community. A lot of surgical work needs to be done. That's why I even put this particular type of podcast in place, because as we're talking about commitment on both spectrums, from the woman's side, the men's side, and us being two men addressing men, you see it a lot in our society now. Especially everything is fast. Nobody wants to be committed. Everybody's like, nah, forget that. Men are over here just being however they want to be, women being however they want to be, and then we're coming together and we're trying to force commitment.
Right.
We're trying to really force commitment.
Yep.
And I really, really want to emphasize, man, and if you could speak to the men that are watching right now, the men that are listening right now, what would you tell them? For that man that's watching right now, that young, or the man that's listening right now, and he may not have nobody ever talk to him like this. Mm-hmm. What would you say to him?
Well, the first thing I would say is find your purpose and leave women alone until you find it. Because all you're going to do is damage women, multiple women, as you look for your purpose. Because the reason why you're doing this, because you're not a bad person, the woman is in the way. Like, you gotta find your purpose. You need your focus, and in a lot of cases, the woman needs other stuff. And in order to please or, get your girl to not leave you or whatever, you gotta tend to her. But you're tending to her, like, for example, and this is going to the men. There are men out here with multiple kids by multiple baby mamas in multiple states, right? And he think he deserves a girlfriend. So say the guy has a kid in New York and a kid in Texas, and he lives in Atlanta, right? And he's all up under his girlfriend in Atlanta, right? What are you doing? This woman is taking time and money away from your two kids. Mm-hmm. Go spend time with your kids. Instead of spending $200 on a hotel room, movies, or buying her or getting her hair fixed or whatever, leave her alone and spend that $200 or $300 or $400 on plane tickets to go see your son. And then spend more money on plane tickets to go see your daughter in Texas. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times people have girlfriends, because we're talking about men in particular.
Yeah.
You get a girlfriend because you want to have sex. You get a girlfriend because you're bored. You get a girlfriend because you think you're supposed to have a girlfriend because your homeboys got girlfriends or whatever. And you have no thought process on actually wanting to marry her. You just want something to do. And especially if you have kids, it's hurting your kids. You actually think you're a good father because you see your kids once a month, or you on FaceTime with your kids, but you're never in front of them except for that once a month. Mm-hmm. That's not a good father. Your kid wants to see you every day, and you got to get as close to every day as you possibly can. Leave these freaking women alone, because the only thing that's going to happen, especially if you're lost emotionally or mentally, you're going to make another baby the same way you made your first two. So that's what I would tell them, like, leave these freaking women alone. They want to get married. If you don't want to get married, get out of their way. You're in their way just like they're in your way because you both have two different purposes in life.
Mm-hmm. That's facts. Wow. Man, you know what? I don't got nothing to say. I was going to say something on top of that, but I don't have nothing to say. You addressed it. And once again, for those men that are listening and those men that are watching, we're not trying to be condemnatory towards you. We are just really coming from the perspective of two black men that desire to see other black men do better, be better, excel, and just become great men that we believe that you're supposed to be and you can be. And in terms of finding your purpose, if you even struggle with that, man, I'm going to tell you right now, if you guys are watching this or listening to this, you know where to find me at. But how are they going to find you and get this info?
Before I say that, I got one other thing to say on top of this.
What's that?
To the men, even if your kids are, say you don't have your purpose, right? Mm-hmm. And you're like, yo, I don't have nothing to offer to my kids because I ain't got no money, I ain't got no this, I ain't got no that. Two things you can teach your kid that doesn't require money. One is how to be a man. So you could be dumb, lost, broke, or whatever. Just being around your kid will give your kid the understanding of what a man looks like. Mm-hmm. Whether you got a son or a daughter. Because most of us did not have a dad in our lives and we had to figure things out. And that is free. Just being around your kid will give that kid an understanding of what a man looks like, mm-hmm. how a man acts. You know, if you got a daughter, she'll be able to see, okay, that's how a woman acts, and my mom, that's how a man acts. Men are different. Okay, now I understand that. Because there's a lot of women who grow up thinking that men supposed to do this and do that because they grew up around women and they think all people are like women. Mm-hmm. And when a man be like, I want to do that, you're like, why? Why won't you want to do? Because I don't want to do that. And she's like, what is wrong with you? I'm a man. I'm not a woman. Right. There's a lot of women who actually don't really understand how different men are from women. Right. Mm-hmm. So the second thing is, if you're broke with nothing that you can give your son or daughter, is emotional diplomacy. Be diplomatic with your kid's mom. Mm-hmm. Let your kid's mom know that, yo, it's okay. I don't want to argue. I got you. Whatever it is you want, I don't want to argue. I want my kid, or I want our kid, to see that we can get along and men and women can actually get along. And so let's work on being diplomatic with each other instead of condescending or fussing all the time or passive aggressive towards each other and acting funny towards each other, mm-hmm. because our kid is watching us. So I want our kid, and keep this in mind, it's not your kid, it's y'all's kid. And the more you have that mindset, the more your kid is going to be able to say, okay, I have two parents and not a mother and a daddy. No, I have parents, mm-hmm. and they get along. Because sometimes if your mom's over here and your daddy's over here and y'all ain't never on the same page, you know, you go over your dad's house and he's doing this and your mom is doing all. Once you actually get to the point where you have emotional diplomacy and y'all aren't fighting and fussing and y'all are on the same accord, and when your kid is over your house, it's somewhat the same type of environment, same type of rules, and then with their mom, it's the same type of environment, same type of rules. And now your mom can be like, you know what, I'm gonna call you daddy. Instead of being like, I ain't calling him because I don't know if he's gonna answer. Mm-hmm. So give consistency and emotional diplomacy to your kid. And like I said, that is free of charge also.
Wow. So was that the promo you just gave on how they can find you? I'm messing with you. I want you to throw it out there.
I wanted to make sure you find yourself.
Yeah.
Before you know how to find me, you got to know how to find yourself. So with all that being said, how you can find me is on Instagram, Mr_Let_Go. TikTok, Mr_Let_Go. YouTube, Mr. Let Go. That's it. And another thing I want to offer also for those who may need my help, I have an emotional attachment blueprint that actually would help individuals let go of their childhood trauma because like we've been talking about, a lot of the chaos that you're used to comes from your childhood. So I have a course that will actually help you let go of that attachment to the chaos.
Awesome. Listen, man, I told y'all, man, the Value podcast, man. Valuable people attract people of value. Jamel Jackson, your relationship mechanic. I focus on preparing, evaluating, and giving you the tools you need. These are tools right now. So people coming on the podcast, whether you watching it or listening, and you like, man, what's these tools he keep talking about? These are tools right now from this conversation that we're having to help you live and have healthier relationships. Also, let me shout out one of my sponsors that blessed me with the gear today. My homies at Defy the Odds. This is one of those dope shirts and jogging suits I'm wearing. I see you rocking a little, what you got over there, man?
Oh yeah, hit up Sleep is for Suckers. My guy David Shands. Make sure Sleep is 4 with a number 4, Suckers, and you can buy a shirt like this yourself.
All right, man. We out. Peace.